Good morning, Judge. Before we begin, I've spoken with my interpreters and asked that they raise their hands to signal me if they hear any interpretation issues that they need to speak with me about. And so I would just ask your permission if that setup is okay.
Certainly fine from the court's perspective. The prosecutor has been advised of this, and do you have any input on the issue?
I will be doing the same, Judge.
Very good. Thank you.
And just briefly, I may not see them out of my peripheral vision, so if you would be so kind as to give me a nod or something if I need to direct my attention to the table.
I have a certain positioning advantage that I'll take advantage.
You do, and I'm not too proud to ask the favor.
Counsel, whenever you're ready, you may proceed.
Ms. Patel, could you please sign and spell your name for the record, please?
My name is Jekar Patel. I go by Jolly, J-E-K-H-R, last name P-A-T-E-L. And my sign name is indicated by a J that's on my left shoulder.
And could you please tell the court how old you are and where you live?
I'm 36 years old. I live in the town of Springfield. The road that I live on, the name is Bandon, I think.
Do you live with anybody?
So where I live now, oh, right. So I live with my partner. His name is Reg. Yeah.
Now, back in November of 2017, was Reg your boyfriend at that time?
He was my boyfriend at the time. Yeah, yeah, he was my boyfriend at the time, yeah.
Now, on November 7th, 2017, do you remember an incident that happened at the Fat Cat Bar in Springfield?
So I was there, and, I mean, do you want me to tell you the story now? Is that what you're asking, what happened? Is that what you're asking?
I'll break it down.
Okay. Got it.
Your Honor, if I may, if I could have a little bit of latitude to lead a bit here, as you can see, sort of breaking it down gets to be a little bit of a lengthy process.
Certainly as to the preliminary matters to set up the critical testimony you may leave.
Thank you. So,
Okay.
so on that particular night, November 7th, 2017, were you at the Fat Cat Bar, and who were you with?
Yes, I was at the Fat Cat, and I went with Reg.
And did his sister Jeanette join you at any point in time?
Yes.
About what time did you all arrive at the bar? And did you all arrive together?
So I'm not sure the exact time we got there. It was late at night, definitely, but I don't know exactly what time. And it was the three of us that arrived together.
When you were all at the bar at the beginning of the evening, what were you doing?
I do know when I got there, the first thing I did is I went to the men's room. But then after that, after I went to the restroom, I came back and we just sat around talking, my friends and I.
Actually, the interpretation is the restroom I went to, the restroom.
And was anybody drinking?
Yes,
And how much had you had to drink that night?
one drink.
And were you drinking beer or tequila shots? What were you having to drink that night?
If I could just get your attention, your table interpreter would like attention.
I'd ask the interpreters to ask my client to hold his answer for just a moment. Or answer.
Is there anything you'd like to address, counsel?
I don't think so. I am trying to recall my last question, which was, I think I had asked Ms. Patel what specifically she'd had to drink that night.
So I don't know the specific name of the drink. It was some sort of a cocktail. It tasted really good. It was Reg who bought it for me. It was a mixture of something.
Do you recall what Reg and Jeanette were drinking and how much they had to drink?
Reg was drinking beer. There were several drinks on the table, maybe 4 or 5. They were going back and forth getting drinks. I don't know exactly what they were, but I remember, several drinks being on the table. But I only had the one because I was limited in my money, and they were buying the other drinks, and I didn't have any money.
And at the beginning of the evening, how would you describe everybody's mood? Were you all having a good time, enjoying each other's company?
Your Honor, may the interpreters ask for clarification of the witness's testimony? There's a piece that we're unsure about.
Yes.
I was not really excited when I got there. I was upset with Reg and something that had happened.
Did something, well, tell us about that. What happened that led you to be upset with Reg?
Well, I saw Reg with another woman and I cried. My heart just broke.
And did you see him with the other woman there at the bar, or had that happened earlier at some other point?
And Your Honor, the question just being reinterpreted.
Thank you.
I became upset while we were in the Fat Cat because I saw Reg there with another woman.
So before you saw him with the other woman, were you all having a good time before then?
Yes, definitely, yes.
So after you saw Reg with the other woman, what happened?
I cried and I walked away.
And did you and Reg get into a verbal argument at that time?
Your Honor, I'm objecting. I object.
Basis?
The leading questions. we were well beyond the initial qualifying questions, and I believe that she's continuing to ask leading questions.
All right, well, I'm going to allow that question to stand, but you're alerted to that now, and I think you should stay away from the leading questions.
May my client answer?
Yes, your client, the defendant may answer that question.
And Your Honor, the objection's just being interpreted right now.
And the witness can be instructed that he can answer the question.
And I'd like to add just to the end of that question before he answers.
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we strike that question, put the question for the witness, please?
So when you saw that Reg was with another woman and you became upset, can you tell the court whether or not you got into an argument or a dispute and tell the court about how that went?
And Your Honor, the interpreters would like to get clarification as to, there was some testimony about someone following someone, and if we could just get clarification as to who that person was?
So yes, we did argue. And yes, I did walk away and he chased after me. Reg chased after me.
And what did he do when he caught up to you?
When Reg caught up to me, he grabbed me by my arm, and I tried to pull away because I wanted to leave, and he wanted me to stay. And I told him I wanted to end our relationship. I wanted to break off. And then he slapped me.
And, Your Honor, from the interpreters, it's not clear where the slap happened or on the body, where exactly that happened.
Well, his answer is his answer, and you can follow up.
Okay. And I, with just very briefly, where did he hit you, and then what did you do in response?
Reg slapped me on my face, on my left cheek. I pushed him away, and I was telling him to stop, and the argument became more and more heated. I wanted to get away.
And Your Honor,
That's
one
fine, you
member of
can
the.
drink water.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
One final question to conclude. Did you pick up anything with which to defend yourself? And did you ever threaten Reg?
So I grabbed Reg's knife only to make myself feel safe, to protect myself. I just wanted him to leave me alone. He knows.
If I can clarify, I also asked if he threatened Reg.
So why don't you re-put that part?
So I would put that question again.
Your Honor, for the record, the original testimony did include, I did not threaten Reg. It was not made for the record by the interpretation.
In which case, may I withdraw the final question? And I would actually ask that the record not include the final answer because it was answered in the first instance.
Prosecution have any position on that?
May I have a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
And I'm going to speak to my interpreters for just 1 second.
Yes. So I think the issue is to you, Madam Prosecutor?
Your Honor, I would agree if there was a clarification in the testimony. According to my table interpreters, the witness testified that he warned I withdraw that statement for now, Your Honor.
So what's your position on striking the last question and letting the testimony stand that the witness said he did not threaten Reggie?
I would object to that.
And what's your objection?
I will draw my objection. I'll agree to that, Your Honor.
All right. So, counsel, the prosecution has agreed to your position that the question be withdrawn, so I'll withdraw the question and there'll be no answer to it.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just very briefly, I need to speak with my table interpreters a little bit more length. We don't need to do that right now on the record. What I wouldn't want to see is any cross-examination on because I don't know yet what he testified to that was not put into the record. And I just want to make sure I have a moment with my table interpreters, and that I'd asked that the Commonwealth not be allowed to examine on a point of testimony that wasn't admitted into evidence that I don't yet know what he said.
I don't know what you're referring to. I'm going to allow her to cross-examine. If you have an objection, you can lodge it.
All right. Can I try and make the point just briefly? My point is that Ms. Patel testified or answered the question a second time, appeared to say something more than just a denial. I don't know yet what that is. My sister counsel has the benefit of her table interpreters having given, I think, some interpretation of what that was. I wouldn't want that to be a point of cross-examination until I've had an opportunity to speak with my table interpreters to understand what it was that was actually struck from the record. Does that make sense?
Are you asking for time to speak to your table interpreters? I'm going to allow the prosecution to proceed with cross-examination. Experienced counsel is going to cross-examine. If you've got an objection, you can lodge it. If you want time to talk to your interpreter, I'll give you that time, but we're going to proceed with cross.
Thank you, Your Honor.
What's your preference?
We can proceed with cross. I just need a moment with my table interpreters.
All right, so I'll give you a moment with your table interpreters. Let me know when you've completed that, and then the prosecution will proceed with cross.
Thank you.
Are you ready to proceed?
Yes.
The interpreters could have a moment, Your Honor. We're not quite done with
Whoa.
the discussion, interpreting what was just discussed, how you ruled.
Madam Prosecutor, I just remind you that there's someone standing behind you. We don't want to lose you during the course of the cross-exam.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, are you ready?
Yes. Ms. Patel, earlier that evening, on the night that you were at the Fat Cat Bar and Grill, you had seen your boyfriend Reg with another woman, hadn't you?
Yes,
The woman's name was Patrice, right?
yeah, I think, yeah.
Didn't that make you upset when you saw your boyfriend with Patrice, his ex-girlfriend?
Yes.
And you were angry at,
Absolutely.
and you were angry at him when you got to the bar as well, correct?
When I got to the bar, I was already sad. But when I saw Reg and her kissing, that's when I got angry, and that's when I ran away.
So at that point, when you were angry at Reg, you brought some beer, correct? A pitcher of beer?
No, because at that point I had walked away. I didn't have any money to buy any beer.
And didn't you play pool with Reg and Jeanette?
Your Honor, the interpreters would like a moment to clarify something as far as the timeline regarding the witness's testimony.
All right?
No, we did not play pool. We may have played pool in the past.
So it's your testimony that Reg slapped you, and then you took his knife and waved it at him?
Yes.
Now, you hit Reg in the face, didn't you?
No, I didn't hit him. I did push him away, and when I pushed him away, I backed myself up, but no, I didn't hit him.
When you pushed him away, did your hand hit his face?
I mean, Reg is taller than me, so when I pushed him away, I pushed him in the chest. I didn't push his face. No, hit his face.
I'm showing you a picture. Do you recognize who this person is?
Yeah, that's Reg.
And is that how Reg looked on the night of November 7th, 2017?
He already looked like that before we went to the bar.
Was your testimony that he got the mark on his left eye before you got to the bar?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd like to offer this picture into evidence.
Is there any objection?
No objection.
That may be marked as the next sequential exhibit.
When the police arrived at the bar, you had the knife in your hand, didn't you?
Yes.
And didn't the police officer tell you to put the knife down?
Objection, Your Honor.
Basis?
Hearsay?
So a hearsay objection's been made. Your response to that?
I can reword the question.
All right. So the objection is sustained?
Your Honor, may the interpreters have a moment, please?
Moment, Your Honor.
Yes. All right, so the court has a concern at this point. We simply had an objection that was raised. That objection was ruled on. I'm not sure why we're having a dialogue about that. I thought the ruling by the court was clear. The question's been withdrawn. The objection was sustained. We're looking for a new question to the witness, and I'd like to proceed with that as expeditiously as we can.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is the interpreter speaking. We believe within the team that there might be a question about how something was interpreted for the record, and we are trying to assess exactly how to bring that forward to the court's attention.
Did you have the knife in your?
Let's wait 1 second.
May the interpreters approach, Your Honor.
Yes. Well, I think for the
For the purpose.
purposes here, I
Yes, we're
just
gonna
would
visit.
hear what your position is.
So we believe, Your Honor, that during the signed portion of the interpretation of a question that was posed by counsel, that there was an addition to the interpretation. There was an addition to the interpretation as to whether or not the defendant was in the bar holding the knife when the police arrived. The signed interpretation was, were you in the bar holding the knife, and did the police see you when they arrived?
Well, the question from the prosecutor was, when the police arrived, were you holding the knife? That was the question.
Yes. And the interpretation included, and did the police see you holding the knife? Which is a little more specific than, were you holding the knife? They might not have seen whether or not the person was holding the knife. So that was just an addition to the interpretation that we wanted to make sure
I
was
understand what
clear.
you're telling me. Does the prosecution or defense counsel have any position? Because the court doesn't see a dramatic difference between the two.
I would just, I'd ask that the interpretation be, strictly the question posed. I actually see that it adds a separate fact to the question of which my client doesn't have personal knowledge of, which is, did the police see him with a knife? That is beyond what he could answer anyway. So if posed that way, it would be an objectionable question.
But it wasn't posed that way.
It wasn't, and so that's why I'd ask just if the court could just reiterate that interpretation needs to be precisely as precisely as possible what the question and not added to.
Well, I'm not comfortable giving instructions to interpreters as to how they should interpret, but I'm the fact finder. So the question that was asked in the court's view was answered yes. And I'm going to leave the record in that fashion. I'm going to turn to the prosecutor, and if you could ask your next question, please.
And Your Honor, just the interpreters now are interpreting that conversation that the court just had.
Did the police speak to you when they arrived at the bar?
When the police came, they told me just to drop the weapon. And when they came, I was trying to tell them that it wasn't just me. And mind you, I was angry and I was signing at the same time. I was trying to tell them that it was Reg also, and it wasn't just me. And I did drop the weapon, but I was angry and trying to communicate and sign with them, with the police.
No further questions.
Can you redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right. All right, at this point, I would direct the witness could leave the witness stand, and we'd proceed with our next witness.